Good afternoon, good evening, this is John Paul Wright. I'm coming to you from Tokyo, Japan. This is my continuing series, What Does Star Wars Mean to You? And today I'm featuring the Majinai. First, I want to give a quick shout out to Skystar Nova. He's been giving me some great support. Thank you very much. Alright, so I've been working with the Majinai kind of behind the scenes for quite a while now, and we both did some video series back on Mad Talk TV, had them running for, 2 or 3 months or something, but we never really got a chance to work together, so I figured it would be really nice to have him on this series, What Does Star Wars Mean to You? And I gotta tell you something, I'm really happy with this video, because once again, I got something different than everybody else has sent me. We find out that the Majinai actually had a problem at birth, and he ties this into how he ended up liking Star Wars and what it meant to him. So here's this clip.
What's up, Entertainment Hacker? This is Majinai, and this is what Star Wars means to me. So, in order for you to get the full picture of what Star Wars means to me, we had to go way back. Because, unlike a lot of people, this really wasn't a family thing for me, as it was something that I was drawn to. And to give you a full effect of what it was, is that, see, when I was born with rubella, which is, a lot of people don't know, is the German measles, which if you get it, you'll survive. It's basically eradicated, but if you're born with it as an infant, it's pretty debilitating up to the point that you may not live. As a matter of fact, they told my mother I wouldn't live past 2 weeks. So, with that being said, obviously I'm still here, so that's a good thing, correct? So, with that being said, I really wasn't, I was in the hospital in and out. So by the time I was 10, I had about 7 surgeries. And so you could just imagine that my mom was slightly overprotective of me. So there wasn't much of me going out and, playing football and, playing sports and all that kind of stuff. It's not that I didn't like that stuff and I didn't want to do it, but it's just, I just wasn't able to. So what did I turn to? I turned to comics, fantasy, and stuff like that, and that's what entertained me. So, one of my first things that I enjoyed was, Peter Parker's Spider-Man. Of course, going forward with that, also Star Wars. N.ow, of course, when the original Star Wars, which became A New Hope, came out, I was an infant, so I did not see that. I think I did see, I really can't remember, it's a little fuzzy to me, but I just know, I remember back when Empire Strikes Back, the hype around it, I knew about the Empire Strikes Back, and I knew about Return of the Jedi. These are things that I was fully aware of by the time they came out, because I was probably about, 3 or 4 when Empire came out, and, I remember all of the Burger King commercials and the toys and everything, and, which, funny enough, my mom never really bought me Star Wars toys. I played with them with one of my friends that was next door to me. He had like everything. He had Millennium Falcon, AT-ATs, he had all the characters, so it was cool to go over there. But I gotta tell you, one of the things that I was always drawn to was the lightsaber. That's why if you look at my channel, my icon is me with one of my lightsabers. Actually, it's 2, but you can't see the other one because of the picture. But I have the Darth Maul double-bladed that can be split into 2, and I also have a custom Ultra Saber. And I had another one that I gave somebody. I think I told you that before. But I always loved the lightsaber. It was an elegant weapon, and I've always been a fan of swords. I was the kid that I like fantasy. It's like I said, it's always about fantasy to me. And so the sword, the slash lightsaber was always a weapon of a knight or somebody of that caliber. So that was one of my favorite things about Star Wars that I like. So, when you talk about characters, and like I said, Peter Parker was one of my first introductory to being in a fantastical world. Luke Skywalker was the one who really drove it in for me, So, and it wasn't like I said again, it wasn't like, I've said this before, and it wasn't like I had to have, Luke Skywalker, look like me or be like me. It's the fact that you can step out of that, of your world and put yourself in that place. So that's where my imagination came from. Like I said, I really couldn't do much, because I was such a sick kid. So I always imagined myself being, like Luke Skywalker and, even Darth Vader. I kind of had that duality that I like, I did like the villain a little bit too. So, and especially like one of my favorite lines from Darth Vader is when he's fighting Luke in Cloud City, and he fell into the carbonite chamber, and he says, "All too easy," flicks it, and then Luke jumps out. He says, "Impressive, most impressive. I see Obi-Wan has taught you well." That's what that right there is like. It's such a small thing, but it encapsulates Darth Vader's superiority and his appreciation of his son, because he knows that he's Luke's father at that point, but Luke doesn't know. So he behind that mask, you can see that he is impressed that his son is able to do the things that he's doing, and and still he even thinks about his old master, because Obi-Wan was his master. So, when I hear things about, like, when people say, oh, well, Star Wars was, a kid thing, whatever, like I said, it was, yeah, I first stepped into it as a kid, and I grew with it. So when people say, oh, this is not for you, whatever, it's really disheartening, because, for somebody like myself who wasn't able to go and play sports and do all the stuff like, a lot of normal, quote-unquote, normal kids would do at that time. Not that I didn't, eventually, as I got older, I got better, and I was, I ran a little wild, but that's a little story for another day. But by me having Star Wars as my way to escape, it was it was a little bit more than just a movie for me, and that's the thing that people don't understand when you have people who say that. So to me, Star Wars was an activity. It was just more than just sitting down and watching a movie, and it was like me looking up things, finding books about things, the excitement of almost being like, an archaeologist, and you're finding out all these things about the Force that was from so long ago, a galaxy far, far away. So that is what Star Wars meant to me. It was an activity. It was something that, was my out, was my escapism. And again, like I said, I didn't have my mom and dad to take me out there. I mean, they took me, as gifts and everything, but it wasn't like it was a family thing for me. It was more like I was drawn to it. So that's why the focus of it kind of swirls around me. And, I did introduce my goddaughter to it, and my niece and stuff like that. So, and we're talking about the George Lucas era, not this new era. So, with that being said, thank you for having me on your channel, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.
Alright, I gotta thank Demajinai for sending me that clip, and we are both Yankees fans and Mets fans. I'm mostly a Yankees fan. I think he's mostly a Yankees fan too, so yeah, that works out nice. And I like the music too. It's his own original music, so that was cool. I think that was the first too. You guys let me know down below what you thought of his clip. If you're new here, what Star Wars means to you. And if you're new here also, please consider subscribing, hitting that notifications bell, and I will see you next time.